go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie, and today I have 6 new Dollar Tree beach DIYs for you. So let's get started crafting. For the first DIY, I want to do some rope art. So I'm going to use one of these little Dollar Tree burlap canvases. This is the 8x10 size, and I'm actually going to use this upside down because I needed something with some sides on a frame. That way I can glue the rope to the burlap, and the only thing I'll have to disguise is all the staples there on front, but the burlap on the side will be great. So I've done rope art once before, but I did it with like the white nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. So this time we're going to try it with the brown rope from the Dollar Tree. This is the thinner brown rope. I wasn't sure how well this would do because I like to paint sections of my rope art, and I wasn't sure how well the brown would paint, but it actually turned out pretty cool. So what I'm doing is just trying to start with my brown rope, and I just want to form an ocean wave. I want it to be about a quarter of the way up the left side and then kind of come down, go up into a big ocean wave, and then kind of about halfway on the other side. So to do that, I'm just going to do hot glue right where I want it. I didn't sketch it out or anything because the hot glue pretty much does the same thing. It tells me exactly where to go there. I knew I wanted to go down before I go up into the wave like that. So I'm just hot gluing one section at a time to make sure that my glue doesn't set up on me. And then I want it to be kind of pointed like that, cutting off any of the excess rope. And now we need to fill in the rest of the wave. We're going to make all of this part of the rope art one color, blue like the ocean. So I just cut a piece that goes all the way from the left to the tip of the wave. And then I'm going to kind of follow that pattern with my next piece going all the way up into the wave, one curved piece. So I want to have different sections of the sign that's going to be different colors of rope. And I've done this once before with a shark fin rope art, and it was so fun. I have it in my son's bathroom and everybody loves it. So I wanted to give it another go and try another design. So this is really fun. Now when I get down here, this is about the last row that I can fit a piece of rope. The rest of it I will just have to piece in each section, but I want to keep that same pattern going. So I just cut off a little piece and glue it, and then keep doing that until I fill that all in. When you get to the really small pieces of rope, if you hold the little tiny piece that you're cutting with your hand and then cut with your other hand, it will stay together a little bit better because it tends to want to unwind itself a little bit. So I'm doing the same thing here on the other side, just cutting down pieces to fill that in, but still keeping with that arch design that we have for the wave. Whenever I do rope art pieces like this, I try to do one section at a time. That way I can paint it and won't get any paint on any of the others. I'm just going to have to be careful to make sure that I don't get any paint on the burlap frame. Because you might be able to see a little bit of the exposed wood on the inside, which I kind of liked. I thought that looked a little bit rustic and coastal. Now I want a sun above my ocean, and so I'm just going to glue and then spiral the rope onto itself. And this is going to be a separate section, separate color, until I get just a little round sun. So maybe one more row, I'll cut it right down here at the bottom and glue that tight. So we have the ocean wave, we have the sun, and we should probably get started painting before we do the rest of it. So the color that I'm using is just Caribbean blue. I noticed it was a little fuzzy, so I did try to burn that off a little bit because it's going to make the paint look better, I think. And this is just Caribbean blue acrylic, and I'm using a brush so I can kind of get down in between all the different fibers of the rope. And I'm using a small brush just so I can kind of have some control here to try to get as close as I can to the sides of this without like having to tape it off or anything like that. And I kind of want it to look like it is like a distressed blue. And so once I get it all painted on here, I'm going to go try to wipe some of the excess paint off with a baby wipe just to soften it a little bit and make it look a little bit stained. Now I've tried like dyeing like the white Dollar Tree rope, and that works too. It can be a little messy. I kind of like just painting what I need to right here. So that's me just wiping off the excess with my baby wipe. And then we can go ahead and paint the sun. I wanted the sun to be like a sunbright. I think this is sunbright yellow. I just wanted a soft yellow. And I'm just doing the same thing, like painting each little part of it and trying to avoid the edges. And again, I don't want the paint to be super thick on the sun either. And so I'm just gonna wipe off the excess paint with a baby wipe just to kind of thin it out a little bit. And it's okay if I get any paint on the burlap on the back because we're gonna cover that with more rope. So I'm gonna start one more package. I'm pretty sure I used 2 packages total of the thinner rope, and my camera died. But all you missed there was 3 rows. I started right underneath the wave and I wrapped it around it and hot glued it to it. So I'm gonna continue that same pattern. This is just the 4th row. I just glue it, kind of see how long I need it to be. Once I get around it a little bit like that, and then I can cut it and glue down the last piece. And I'm going to try to keep doing that same pattern until we fill up the entire little burlap canvas. And I am working on a silicone mat, so any hot glue that's kind of coming through the back won't stick to the silicone mat, so I don't have to worry about that. Now I kind of got as far as I could get with one piece, so just like before, I'm just having to cut down some smaller pieces to fill that in, but I want to continue that same pattern to kind of make it give that same spiral look that we had before. And I don't have to worry about painting this section of the rope art because I'm just going to leave this like natural, the natural brown rope for lots of contrast. And then I can't forget the corner, and then I'm just going to finish this off, keeping that arch pattern like it was a swirl from the other side, just filling up the rest of the canvas right here underneath the little sun. Isn't it looking cute so far? It's really, I mean, it's a little time consuming. You know, my camera died at the 30-minute mark, so that kind of tells you how long it takes, but it's actually really fun to do. It's pretty easy. So we got that all on there. I'm just peeling it off my mat, and then you want to like kind of clean up any like little hot glue strings that you might have. And now we need to cover up the staples. I thought some of this burlap trim from the Dollar Tree would be perfect. It's just about the right size. It's kind of decorative, and it's going to completely mask these little staples over here on the side, just leaving the burlap on the edges, and that'll be perfect. So I just attached that with hot glue. Just working one section at a time. Can't really bend that around the corners too well. So I'm just going to cut a piece and then kind of just overlap the corners, kind of give them a square corner. And I'm trying to like kind of put them on there the same kind of way, whichever way I think is going to cover the staples the best. And this turned out so cute. I'm not sure where I'm going to put this DIY. I'm going to have to think. I'm going to have to think about the colors on this. Our bedroom is coastal, but it's more of a neutral color. This might go well with it. I'll have to see. I have a lot of decorating space in there still. Yeah, maybe this one. This one might look really cute in my hallway too. But I am just putting my 4th and final side on there. This was such a fun little DIY to make. I think it's gonna look the best hanging on a wall. So I'm gonna flip mine over and attach a hanger to the back, but look how cute that is. I saw something similar online for sale with recycled rope, I think it was. And it gave me the idea to try that design on one of these Dollar Tree canvases with Dollar Tree rope. So for the hanger for the back, I just take a piece of twine and I just knotted both sides, and I'm just going to glue that to the back of the burlap, just because I don't think it's going to take very much to hang that up. And I think that's going to be plenty strong. Just let that hot glue dry. I put a little bit on there, and this is how it turned out. Our little rope art beach wave. It makes me want to go to the beach. Everything makes me want to go to the beach. Isn't that cute? And this is how it turned out. We were actually just at Hollywood Beach last night. My son and I made a road trip to his college to get his college ID. And we decided to make a little road trip down to Hollywood, Florida, and we had so much fun on their little boardwalk there last night on the beach. We went to Margaritaville, we got some ice cream, so fun. Okay, the next DIY, I'm gonna do a little hot plate for my kitchen, and I found this one at Dollar Tree the other day, and it's different than any one I've ever crafted from Dollar Tree before. It's clear glass. It's not like the one that's got like all the texture on one side, if you know what I mean. I've done DIYs with that one with sublimation before, and I wanted to try something a little bit easier than sublimation for this one. And so the first step is just to remove all of the little feet. I'm just going to pry them off. They did leave a little bit of glue residue on that glass, and so I used a combination of heat. I actually had to get in there with a little bit of Goo Gone too to get it all off there because I wanted to clean the surface. I am saving the feet because I do need them for my hot plate, but right now I need a clean surface because we are going to put an image under this to make our own custom little beach hot plate for the kitchen. So I just used Goo Gone, got all the residue off. I also used like some glass cleaner to try to really get it clean. And I'm going to back the bottom of it with some of this adhesive cork. This is going to kind of act like a little bit of an insulator for the hot plate. And it is the perfect size. It is 7.75 inches, I believe, which is exactly how wide the square and I think the circle. I definitely know the circle one. And I just flipped it over and used a Sharpie to kind of draw my design on here. I have used my Cricut to cut these out before, which cut a perfect circle, but it had a border and it actually cut some of it off. So this way was actually better. And then I just cut it. This is just the adhesive backing on the back of that cork board, and we're just going to cut that down to size, doing our best to cut out a circle. It really doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be kind of tucked away under the edges, so just trying it on for size. Now it's time for the image. I designed a really fun image, and I will share this file for you. You can print it out. I just printed mine out on regular printer paper, and I cut it down. The file should be exact to size if you print it 100%. Hopefully it'll download the same way that I uploaded it, but if not, 7.75 inches is how big I think one of these little hot plates are. So I'm just doing my best to cut out a circle, making sure this is dry. We're gonna Mod Podge that image to the bottom of the hot plate. So it's gonna be kind of nested in between that and the cork. It's gonna kind of protect it, and I'm gonna Mod Podge it. Now, I used a foam brush because that was recommended for glass. I'm not sure if I did too thick of a coat. It does look a little bit thick, but see those brush strokes? I did get streaking in it. And I did read online afterwards that if you use like the little stencil dauber, like foam brushes from the Dollar Tree, you can daub all over and you're not going to get those streaks. So that might be a tip I try next time. But I just laid my image face down on there, and I tried pushing it down and making sure it was flat and all connected to the Mod Podge. Now I'm gonna give it a quick dry with my heat gun and go back with more Mod Podge to help seal that in. I don't like submerge these like to wash them or anything like that. I just usually just use a sponge on top just to wipe these down whenever I DIY these. So I'm not too worried about there being paper in there, but just in case, I am gonna try to seal it the best that I can. Now here is the adhesive cork. All you gotta do is peel it off. It's like a really sticky sticker. And then just line that up, stick that right on the bottom, and push down. And you know, I think this way was even easier than sublimation. Mod Podge is, you know, you can do so much with that. Now, if you don't get your cork on there perfect, you can always just trim it up with a pair of scissors. And that's what I'm doing, just making sure none of that is kind of protruding from the sides. And it looks nice and round. Now you can kind of see that streaking that I was talking about. I did just make all these DIYs tonight and today, so I hope that they'll go away. I tried heating it up with my heat gun, but it didn't really seem to make too big of a difference. I do hope it goes away though. And I'm just going to hot glue my little feet back on to the cork bottom. Just kind of spreading those out all four corners there. And this little beach kitchen DIY is complete. We have a little sea turtle. It's a beautiful watercolor image here. And I will share this. I'll share it on my Google Drive for you to print that out yourself. I just hope that those streaks will go away. Have you guys ever Mod Podged on glass and had streaks like that? I was kind of surprised. Next time I will try like the stencil daubers from the Dollar Tree and see if that works better. And if you had the other hot plate, the one that's not just plain glass like this, it might not be as noticeable because this was really clear glass, which I appreciate because the other ones kind of distort the image a little bit, and I think that turned out really cute. Okay, the next DIY, I wanted to use some of this foam board from the Dollar Tree to make a giant beach sign for my entryway. I wanted like a great big sign, and one I saw was like $60 for what I wanted, and I said, you know what? I bet I can make that with some Dollar Tree foam board and some scrap wood. So the foam board's so big that you can't see, but basically I am measuring 24 inches, and I made a few little lines there so that I can cut this down to size. This project was a little hard. My work surface, I only have so much room here, so I was trying to show you what I was doing. So I'm going to use my yardstick and a Dollar Tree X-Acto blade to cut this down. Now, whenever I've cut Dollar Tree foam board before, it always gets kind of chewed up. So I did read a tip online about how to do that. It said to extend your blade. First, I got a new blade, even though it's rusted. I probably need a new one. Extend it like really far, and I had a new tip on there, like I broke it off. And then when you cut it, you kind of angle it down where all of that blade is cutting it at the same time. And so I thought I would give it a try. So I'm just going to cut on those lines right next to my yardstick to keep a straight line. My cutting mat is only so big, so I'm going to have to kind of cut one section here at a time because it's such a large piece. And then I am going to cut it the other way as well. I decided to do, I'm trying to remember here, 10 inches. So 10 inches by 24 inches is how big that I chose to make mine. I was kind of limited to 24 inches by my Cricut. It only goes up to 23.5 inches on one file, and I wanted to do like one file and be done. So I cut out that piece on top just to kind of get it out of my way. And then I'm using that same technique to cut the foam board. I was so impressed. That is definitely the way to cut this. It cut so smooth, so clean. It wasn't chewed up at all. So just extend your blade a lot and then angle it down when you're cutting. And so it's just got a huge like blade like just sawing right through it. Now it's time to paint it. I want it to look like the back of the sign, and I'm doing Caribbean blue acrylic paint all over. I love a good beach sign that's like beachy blue with like white on it. It's always my favorite. I kind of have a smaller version of this that I did buy that says saltwater fixes everything. I have it above my like patio doors going out to my Florida room. And I thought I would kind of try to do something similar for my entryway, and I wanted a large piece. So foam board is definitely the cheapest option. I do go over it with a couple of coats of that acrylic Caribbean blue color just to try to get pretty even coverage on here. I've noticed my foam brushes from the Dollar Tree are leaving like little tiny pieces of black foam sometimes when I'm painting, and that's really annoying. So I did have to stop here and there and try to remove those before they dried in the paint. I guess it's kind of the same thing you get when you use a paintbrush when it loses the bristles. Kind of annoying. I've noticed that the foam brushes in the Crafter Square section though are always better quality than the ones in the hardware section for some reason. Not really sure why, but I find the ones in the hardware section, like the handles just break off on me. So I went to my Cricut and I cut down my new favorite, my matte white vinyl. I get this by On the Roll from Amazon and I love it. It goes great for coastal farmhouse. And I am just going to kind of use I had to use my big 2-foot mat to help me pull this off. And I tried to take it off like all in one piece just to make it a little bit easier. I did find I took a couple of the eyes, a lot of the eye dots off, which is fine because that's so easy to put back together. But I also did the little comma here, so I'm going to try to put that back on. But this is the quote that I did for this sign. Live in the sunshine, swim the sea, drink the wild air. And this is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And I did check, I've seen this on signs, but I did check to see if he'd actually said this. It did go on a little bit further, but this is everybody's favorite part. So we got that all weeded. One thing I like about this is that clear plastic backing on the vinyl makes it so easy to work with, and it does not stick to my Cricut mats at all. Then I'm going to use my favorite paper, transfer paper that I also get on Amazon. Both of those are linked in my Amazon shop below. I love both of them. This is the 12-inch, the big paper transfer paper. And I'm just trying to peel this off. You know, I usually work in sections, and working in one big piece like this was making it a little bit more challenging. I decided I was probably peeling it off the wrong way. So I decided to cut that and just go from the bottom up, and it came off so much better that way. Just make sure you're not taking any of the letters with you, and I have all the image for that giant sign all on one piece of transfer paper here. And I will share this Cricut file. Sometimes you have to have Cricut Design Space to use my Cricut files though because of the fonts. So I'll also try to create an SVG that I can share with you as well in case you aren't able to access the Cricut file. It's always hard to know what they'll let you share and what they won't let you share. So you can kind of see through the paper transfer paper. So I'm just going to try to line it up the best that I can. And I mean, I just painted this foam board, and this paper transfer paper is so great because it doesn't damage any of my paint. I love that. It's not super sticky, but it's just sticky enough. So I'm going to do this kind of the same technique I did before, working from like top down instead of side to side, and folding that flat against the sign, just peeling that off. And it looks pretty good. And again, this is a really large sign, and I think it turned out so pretty. And I love this saying, it's so me. So I'm just going to use the tip of a little paintbrush from the Dollar Tree, dipped in white paint, and redo my eyes. When I did that, they were a little bit larger than the ones that actually were still on there, so I kind of updated them as well. I forgot the eye and live. I did notice that and went back and updated that. Now I'm going to go over and distress it with the original color, the Caribbean blue. Just lightly dragging that over the white vinyl. Kind of forgot I had wet paint there. And just slightly distressing the vinyl. It's going to make it look less like vinyl and more like a hand-painted sign. And I always like to do that technique on signs that I use the actual vinyl on. Now, this is some really old scrap wood that we had in our garage that my husband had for a project years ago and never used. And he was going to get rid of it. And I said, no, don't get rid of the wood. So I cut it all down into 2-foot portions so that I could use it someday. And today is that someday. And so it's the perfect size for a 24-inch sign. One side was a little rough on these because, again, they've been in my garage forever. I'm going to kind of do the rougher on the outside of the frame, but basically it's the same length as my sign, which is perfect because then I can come in on the side like that and box it in. Instead of miter corners, we can just do little rustic corners like that. So I'm going to take my third piece, measure it, take that to my saw and cut that piece down, going from the very top to the very bottom of the frame with that. And then with my spare piece, I'm going to cut down the other side. Just need to cut a little bit off that piece. And we can build a rustic frame for this. Now, if you don't have access to scrap wood like this, you could use the Dollar Tree craft wood. You might have to piece it together. I don't know if they have a 24-inch piece. I think they have an 18-inch piece, so maybe you can make it a little smaller with that. You could also use the Dollar Tree mini Jenga blocks, putting them all together. I've made really large signs frames with that, and it actually turned out quite well. And once you glue them all together and paint them, it's not too bad. So I am going to paint the outsides, the insides, and the top of these pieces of wood with just some white acrylic paint. And I'm not going to be too precise with this. I want it to look coastal farmhouse, so I want it to look slightly distressed. And I really kind of like the fact that the wood is kind of all old and mutilated a little bit. It's going to add a little bit to the charm. So I got one side of all of them. I'm kind of leaving them all in place so I know exactly what goes where on these. And then this is going to be the front part of it because I'm going to have them boxed out like that. So it's a nice, big, thick frame. So basically, I had $1.25 worth of foam board, a little vinyl from Amazon, and some paint on this. Otherwise, everything was free like this would. So instead of $50, I really did a great deal. So I had to do the inside. I also have to do the outside. And then I'm purposely not going to do the back just so I kind of know what piece goes where. So I'm just doing a coat on all of these. And basically, most of this project was just painting. Now my foam board did want to, it wasn't super flat, the piece that I had, and I don't know if that's because I've had it in my garage or if it's because I painted it, but I will show you what I end up doing to attach it to the back of that because I want it to be kind of flat. But I want my frame to be super sturdy, so I'm going to use a little hot glue just to tack it on at first, like that. I need it to go that way because my 2 feet panels were exactly the width of my sign. So I need the side panels to go from the top to the bottom. And then I'm just going to use finishing nails. I needed something long enough to go all the way through the one piece of wood into the next one. And I am going to hammer that in. I'm going to do one of the nails on each corner here. I'm showing you guys, but then I am going to go in and do a second one as well to make it even stronger. As you can see, the hot glue doesn't do much on this. You definitely have to use nails. I did notice that the wood was kind of hard, so putting the nails in here wasn't the easiest, but I got it to go in. So the same thing here on the other side, just from top to bottom with this, just using a little hot glue just to get me started. And then nailing these in. It was kind of hard. I was trying to do it at this angle to show you guys, but I decided to take it off onto my garage floor to do the other 4 nails. I'm going to do 1 more in each corner. And that was a little bit easier because I could kind of nail down using the concrete floor as the bottom. And I got it all framed out. So let me show you what I mean is that I just did like 2 nails here in each one kind of in the front, one kind of in the back. So now it's time to put this together. I did notice that, you know, my seams were not perfect, so I'm just gonna fix that with a little spackle from the Dollar Tree to fill up any crevices or any little gaps in my frame. It's just gonna make it look better in the long run. And I did a pretty good job of making this frame to size. I did notice I had a slight gap on one side of my picture, but I don't think it's very noticeable. But I did want to eliminate the cracks if I could, and since they're painted white, the spackle's gonna dry white, so it's a pretty easy fix. Just using my finger to kind of fill in any of the gaps. That looks good. Now it's time to try to put it back together. Now, it does fit like just inside, but as you can see there, see how it's kind of like bent? Where the corners kind of want to stick up. So I need to find a way to attach it to the back where the frame sits out towards the front. Kind of box it in a little bit. So I tried smoothing it out. I tried bending it a little bit, but it helped a little, but not really. The corners just kind of really wanted to curl up, and maybe that is from painting, I'm not sure. But I'm trying to flatten it out as much as I can and then kind of sandwich it right there inside my frame. It's a pretty good fit. Now, the only thing I could think of to attach it to the back to make my 4 corners stay down or stay back was to use duct tape. So that's what I'm going to use on the back of mine. That way I can attach the wood to the foam board. Because I couldn't really do staples or I don't think or anything like that. So I have some white duct tape from the Dollar Tree, and I am just going to start tearing off pieces and working one corner at a time too, pushing it back from the inside until it's flat up against the back of the frame. And I'm going to tape it all the way around. And since it's duct tape, I think it's going to be durable. And it's going to be hidden on the back of the piece anyway, so you're not going to be able to see it. So just working one section at a time, we're going to frame this whole thing out. And the great thing about making a large foam board sign like this is that it's going to be very lightweight and easy to hang on my wall. And I'm just pushing down my corners, making sure they lay flat against that duct tape, and I think we pulled it off. I love that saying. When I looked it up, it had another word after air, and now I can't remember what it was. It's a word that I had no idea what it was, so I see why everybody leaves it off. I had to look it up, and I have never heard of the word in my life. Now I'm curious, now I'm going to have to look it up. Okay, I looked it up. It was salubrity, and it means favorable to or promoting health, which definitely, the beach air definitely makes me feel like I'm healthier. I'm just going to use a little hammer and sawtooth hanger on the back that I got off a Dollar Tree canvas to hang it. And it's also nice and thick enough that it can kind of sit up on its side too if I want to put it on top of something. But I think it turned out really good. This is how big it is. It takes up my entire hall tree in my entryway. And I love it. Isn't it cute? And it was very inexpensive to put together. And I will share my Cricut file and an SVG for that. I'll have to remember to create an SVG for y'all. Hey guys, I wanted to take a quick moment out of today's video and let you know about my private Facebook group. I always have it linked below. You're going to be able to see what everybody else has been crafting and find out when I post new videos. I'd love to have you. I also have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and Threads at Crafty Beach on YouTube is my handle. Okay, the next DIY, I wanted to take a Dollar Tree sand dollar and one of these little display stands to make a beautiful decoupage sand dollar. So the napkins that I'm going to use they're from the shore living section. You can use whatever you got. I tried to find something coastal with a small pattern to go on there so you can kind of still see what everything is, right? So I'm just going to cut this down to size. They also have these like in the drink size napkins if you picked those up, or another design as well. I love working with napkins though. I think they decoupage so beautifully. So what you want is one layer of the napkin. So this was a 2-layer napkin, so I just had to peel off the back. And I am going to Mod Podge this to my sand dollar and make a beautiful little sand dollar for display. So I do a thin coat all over the little sand dollar with some Mod Podge. And then I'm going to lay my napkin right on top. Kind of line it up exactly how you want your images to go. And then I'm going to smooth it out. Make sure your fingers are dry. You can also use like a plastic bag on your hand if you think it's going to stick to you, but mine went on pretty seamlessly. Just making sure all the edges are nice and glued down on the front of this. And then we're going to decorate this a little bit more as well. Once I got it dry, I can cut off some of this excess napkin. I can't get like real close to the edges easily with this. So I'm just kind of cutting out like as close as I can get. And then sandpaper on tissue like this napkins is really easy to cut it off and give you a perfect cut. And so that's what I'm going to do. Once I make sure it is all good and down, I just take a Dollar Tree sanding sponge all around the edges and it gives me that perfect clean cut. It just tears the napkin right where it needs to tear. And we have this great design on a sand dollar. Now, some of y'all have shown me, I think in our Facebook group, that you do this with seashells, like the inside of shells. And I always think they look so pretty, and I really love the fact that I did this on a Dollar Tree sand dollar. It's so fun. Now I'm going to flip it over, put a little bit more Mod Podge in the holes, and then I'm going to go over the top of it with more Mod Podge. Now the reason I put Mod Podge in the holes is because I do need to break all of those like 5 holes out. And I'm just going to do that with my wet paintbrush full of Mod Podge, just pushing down any of the holes and kind of gluing any of the torn edges on the inside of the hole. Just trying to see where all the holes were. The other 2 slits were down here. And the napkin tears really easily when it's wet. So if you get it really wet with the Mod Podge, you can just push right through there. So I got that coat on there and gave it a good dry. Just making sure everything is down smooth. All of my cuts around my edges are really clean. And then I go over it with another coat of Mod Podge just to make sure that it's good and secure. And I did a really good job of putting it on there with no wrinkles, so go me. Now I am kind of cleaning up the inside of the little slots here on the sand dollar, just with the end of a paintbrush, just to make sure they are all glued down. If you have a lot of paper, you can trim it down, but I didn't seem to need to. Now we're gonna kind of like make it look gilded around the edges. So I'm gonna use some acrylic paint and a metallic gold. I kind of wanted to use a paint pen for this, but I noticed that my metallic gold paint pen was all dried up. So I'm just gonna have to be kind of careful just going around the edges here with the gold. I was kind of making sure that it didn't go too far on the front. I just want it to look kind of gilded around the edges with that metallic gold. But I didn't want to take away from the design. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm making sure I have a good coat where it's going to be nice and shimmery. And then I wasn't as clean on the back of it. I was trying to clean that up a little bit. But what I did is I ended up painting the back of the whole thing gold anyway. just because it was bothering me. I did try to clean it up a little bit here by just kind of making like a gold row. And then I'm also going to go around each of those slots that we cut out and paint the edges of those metallic gold as well. It really helps them to stand out. And I love this technique for sand dollars. How cute would this be for Christmas ornaments? So if you have any like really beautiful napkins, be saving them for your sand dollars. Because I'm sure we'll be making some of those for Christmas this year. I think this would be so pretty. You could tie it with like the slot there in the middle and hang it. But I'm going to display mine. Now, I picked this sign out purposely because it wasn't attached all the way, because sometimes those can be a little tough to pull off, but I always love buying these for the stand. I did kind of pull the paint off that as well, so I'm just going to touch up this with a little white paint, and this is just a little Dollar Tree sign that had the stand. I love it because it's already got the pole attached to the base, and you can display just about anything kind of small on here. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to do my sand dollar, I think upside down or right way. I couldn't decide which way to do it, but I decided to do it just right way up. Then I was like, you know, if I'm just going to paint the back of this gold, I'm just going to go ahead and paint the rest of it gold. Just in case you can see this whenever I display it from the back, it's just going to make it look a little bit more finished. So if you were a little cleaner painting your edges, you might not need to do that step, but I'm kind of glad I did because it looks really pretty back there, right? I'm going to do a little bead of hot glue here right above that slot and glue the little metal stand from that sign right into it. Now the sand dollar from the Dollar Tree is made out of plastic, so it's not super heavy. I don't think it's going to take too much to glue it on there, but I'm trying to get as good as bond as I can, adding a little bit more hot glue and then letting that dry. And I think this is going to be a beautiful display for like my living room and with my coastal decor. It's definitely a work of art, and it was so fun to make with just a Dollar Tree napkin, a Dollar Tree stand, and a Dollar Tree little sand dollar. So once it got set up, now we can stand it up and take a look at this beauty. Isn't it pretty? I absolutely love the gold metallic touches around the edges. I think it really makes it look like a work of art. And this is how it turned out. And it is on a stand to display like it should be. But again, I think those would make really pretty Christmas ornaments as well. So we might have to repeat that DIY in a couple of months. And I did do a Christmas in July video. It didn't get a lot of views, but if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I did do some new Christmas DIYs. Okay, the next DIY, we're going to make a surfboard. I'm going to use one of these beautiful sea turtle ones. I'm actually going to cover that up. Can you believe it? I did use one of those to make a little boat shelf in a video like a week or two ago. If you haven't seen that one, you'll have to check it out. It turned so cute. And these are just the plastic summer dishes from the Dollar Tree. You can use any of the patterns. A lot of my stores still have these. Not necessarily in the sea turtle pattern though. And I just put that on the back of some Dollar Tree leather and just draw that design on there with a Sharpie. Now this is the faux leather from the Dollar Tree. I chose navy. I wanted to do like a navy and a blue surfboard with this to make a fun little surfboard sign for my son's bathroom. He kind of has like a day at the beach theme in the bathroom, and I thought this would look really cute. It's gonna look a little bit masculine with the navy color, but I think it turned out really fun. So I'm just cutting probably on the outside of the Sharpie line. I wanted to make sure I had plenty of fabric because I am gonna stuff the surfboard a little bit so it doesn't kind of like cave in like that. Because the way that the tray is formed, I want it to look like a nice full surfboard. So I do a bead of hot glue along one side of my tray and hot glue the faux leather right to it, trying to go all the way over to the edges. I will frame this out a little bit because I don't want it to look kind of crazy. I don't want you to be able to see any of the sea turtle pattern or anything through this. And then I did the same thing here with the other side, kind of flattening it out, leaving the very bottom of the little surfboard tray open so that we can stuff it. Now, once I got it on there, I can trim it down to size because, again, I did cut it out a tiny bit larger in case I needed that material. And I love working with this faux leather. I always kind of forget about it, but it crafts really well. It is really easy to cut and it has a beautiful texture. So I'm just going to use pillow fluff from an old pillow, and I'm just going to start filling that and, you know, kind of pushing it up towards the top. I want it to kind of look full, kind of like a slight, you know, concave shape, like sticking up. And make sure that it kind of looks like a surfboard and less like a tray. So I think it needs a little bit more stuffing here, and then we can seal up the bottom of the surfboard. Trying to make sure it's not too lumpy, a little bit like I'm smoothing it out, kind of pushing it up, making sure that it goes all the way to the tip. And then just gluing down the bottom part, just like we did for the sides with hot glue. And it actually held up pretty well to the hot glue, considering it is like a faux leather. And I just want that to look as clean as possible, but I am going to frame that up anyway. And then I was trying to decide how I wanted to decorate this. I was thinking I kind of wanted just a simple stripe to go down the middle of it. And so I thought like Dollar Tree ribbon would be great for that. I have this light blue ribbon. This is from the Easter section at Dollar Tree. I always pick this up because it always works great for beach DIYs, and they have it every year. And it's a nice thick blue, so I thought we could just do a stripe all the way down the middle of the surfboard like that. And I was trying to decide how I could attach it. I can't really hot glue it because I think the hot glue would come through the ribbon, but I'm thinking I can like kind of put it on the back of it, and then I want to frame out the whole surfboard with some white Dollar Tree rope. So I cut the ribbon down a little bit larger. That way I can attach it to the back of the surfboard tray and just have it tight by tension on the front. That way I don't have to damage the ribbon with hot glue, and I didn't think that Mod Podge would work on the leather too well either. And I just kind of fold that over, hot gluing that to the back. Now you kind of have a tip up here at the top of the surfboard, and so I'm just going to have to do like one section at a time. Just pulling this section tight, kind of like a triangle, and then I'll have to fold and overlap the other section right on top. And that seemed to be a good fix. Now again, I wanted to frame out the surfboard with some Dollar Tree white rope. I'm going to use the thinner white rope from the Dollar Tree. And I want to go over like the top of it to kind of clean up the seam, kind of overlapping the sides a little bit. And then also a row of it kind of underneath of it to kind of fill up that space to make it look more like a flat surfboard that's going to sit against the wall and less like a plastic tray. So it's going to kind of disguise that part too. So I decided to start like right at the tip, like that. And again, I'm slightly overlapping the edges with that, just putting hot glue all the way towards the edge of the leather and gluing that on. And working like 1/4 of a section here at a time. It's also going to sandwich in that ribbon that we put on there, which is one reason why I attached that first. And then I'm just going to wrap that all the way around, framing it out. Now, when I get to the tip of it, I don't cut it off. I just keep continuing the same rope for the second row. Just going to make one less seam. And then I flipped it over and I'm just gluing that all the way around in a second layer. This is going to be directly on the side of the tray, kind of hiding it and disguising it. So this like row sticks out like way farther than the one that we did before. So it kind of gives like a double rope border around this. And I'm glad I decided to do both rows. I think it made it look a lot better. So I just cut that at the tip where we started with the first row. And there is our 2 rows of rope. I think that making it look so much more finished, cleaned up any of the crazy edges we had going on. And then I thought we could do a word on it with some Dollar Tree letters. And I thought surf would be perfect. So I decided just to leave them like natural wood. I thought that looked kind of coastal. You could always paint them white as well, or ivory. And then I'm just gonna hot glue these directly to our ribbon. And this was such an easy DIY to make, and I think it turned out so cute. And this would be really cute in coastal decor, coastal bathrooms, boys' bedrooms. It would be really cute just because it's kind of masculine with the color. They also have like that faux leather at the Dollar Tree in like ivory and in brown. I'm not sure if they have any other colors. If you've seen any other colors, let me know in the comments below because I need to get more of it. I really like it. Now I just took some twine, tied it into a knot, and glued the knot onto the back of the tray just to make a super simple hanger. Again, this surfboard is pretty lightweight since it's made out of plastic, fluff, and a little bit of leather. So it's not going to take much to hang this up against the wall. And I think it turned out really cute. What do you guys think about my little surfboard? And this is how it turned out. The first time I made a Dollar Tree surfboard was with sublimation. So I kind of wanted to do this one a little bit easier for anyone to do. And isn't that leather great? I love the texture on that. I used it for one of my fall DIYs the other day and I loved it too. Here is our little surfboard. Okay, I wanted to do another quick, easy DIY. I have one of these little rope beaches that I picked up from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree this year. It already has the rope on it, but if you have like just the wooden sign that says beach, you could really easily recreate this. I am going to remove the hangers from the back because I don't really need those. I can save those for another project. If you did just have the beach words, you could just add Dollar Tree rope to the front, just spelling out the letters in beach, and you're going to get kind of the same effect. I thought it was the perfect size for one of these little long Dollar Tree signs to make a fun little beach sign. So I'm just cleaning up my rope a little bit. This was one of my favorite ones because you could really read it. Some of those rope words were a little hard to read from the Dollar Tree. I noticed those are the ones that my store still have. And I also decided to burn off all the fuzzies on there just to clean it up a little bit more with a lighter. That part is ready. And then I'm going to use one of these long signs from the Dollar Tree. I love those. I'm just going to cover the back of it with some of this Dollar Tree fabric. This is like a mermaid scale or a fish scale, probably mermaid because it's blue and shimmery. And I'm just going to use that as a background behind the beach word. I think it's going to be nice and colorful and definitely look coastal. So I'm just kind of laying that inside my frame. And that way I can do a very easy template here to cut that down to size. Basically, I'm just going to kind of use the fabric like you would use like scrapbook paper or something like that. And it's going to be great because it's also going to give me texture. I use a fine tip Sharpie and just trace that out exactly where I need to cut on the other 3 sides using the straight edge that came on the top of the fabric and then just cutting that piece down. Now the fabric will fray a tiny bit. It wasn't too bad though. And you could do any kind of coastal fabric. I thought this design would be really pretty. And I have a couple of rolls of this fabric from the Shore Living line that I haven't even touched. So to attach it, I'm just going to do a thick layer of Mod Podge all over the back of the sign. It doesn't really matter which color of these signs you get because you can't really see the back anyway. And then just lay my fabric right on top. Smoothing that out. I like to kind of use a paper towel to make sure that is all good and down. And then my heat gun to give it a quick dry. And then to make sure it's good and secure and sealed, I'm also going to go over the top of my fabric with more Mod Podge. Kind of making sure that I got all of the fabric wet because I'm going to attach the beach word to the front of it. So I want it to be a nice secure surface that I'm attaching it to. I don't want like the beachboard to be pulling the fabric off. Now, that is how I'm going to attach beach. I was kind of trying to decide if I needed to kind of clean up the edges of the fabric where it comes with the frame. And then I decided, yeah, I probably do. I'm using just some of this thicker jute twine. This is the kind from Walmart, but you could also use the one from the Dollar Tree. The one from Walmart is just a little bit thicker. And I'm just hot gluing that, just sealing the seam between the fabric and the frame. That way you won't be able to see any fraying or imperfect cuts. And I just continue that same piece all around all four corners, just hot gluing that in. And sometimes that twine from Walmart, it's a little rough looking. You can kind of clean it up a little bit. I tried to trim it up and burn any of the fuzzies off that I could, that I thought was going to bother me, without trying to start a fire here on my fabric. And then we're going to attach the little rope beachboard right to the front. And if you're super creative, you could always spell out the word beach, kind of using that rope as a template to glue that down to your sign. I'm also going to use one of these little sand dollars from the Dollar Tree that came on the little wood beads from the Shore Living line. Just add a little coastal touch maybe over in the corner. So once I have it all laid out, I decide to hot glue my beachboard on. Trying to hot glue each letter down to make it nice and secure. And kind of center that on our little mermaid scales. And then I thought this little sand dollar would be the perfect touch down here in the corner. This was a really easy little beach DIY, and it's so colorful and fun. I think it would go great with any kind of beach decor. And I normally stop making beach DIY videos at the beginning of the summer, but I know so many of my viewers decorate coastal year-round, and so as long as you guys keep watching them, I will keep making beach DIY videos. I am not afraid. This is how it turned out. I think it's really cute. I did kind of push the fabric down into the little ridges there between the wood just to give it a little bit more texture when I was drying the glue there. But I think it turned out really fun. Hey guys, I wanted to let you know that I've introduced memberships on my channel. For $4.99 a month, you can help support me here at Crafty Beach. You're going to get early ad-free access to my new videos and a few other perks as well. And I would like to give a huge thank you to the following Crafty Beach Bud members. Thank you to Karen O'Haron, Coastal Couple, Pamela Bergeron, I Am Mojo Jojo, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Sandra Ray, Stacy Hall, Carrie R., Tracy Knight, Verna Noctegal, Julie Miller, Whitney Harrison, and Nancy Wunner. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. And now it's time for the final reveal. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm. Comment your favorite beach DIY below, or just come say hello in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. We're so close to 20,000 subscribers, and I want to do a big 20K giveaway. All right, enjoy the final reveal.
For better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. closer every dawn. Ooh, we are dreamers of the shore.
Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to watch more Crafty Beach, YouTube thinks you might enjoy this video right here.